In the meantime, let me bring in Julie Blackman, a trial strategy consultant, and she has worked on some really big cases involving, for example, Senator Bob Menendez and his previous trial, as well as Martha Stewart and others. What do lawyers typically do, Julie, in their closings to try to sway the jury? And in your experience, what works, what doesn't?
Well, I think lawyers try to feature their themes. They hope that when the jury goes in to deliberate, it will be their voices that the jurors will repeat, that they'll carry in key lines, central ideas that will dominate deliberations. And I think it's especially important in light of all the things you've been discussing, that they've had a week off. And so reinvigorating their memories, giving them key phrases to use is especially important. And there are a few things you've been talking about along the way. The fact that this defendant is a former president of the United States. We have to expect that the jurors may be considering that. And I'll just say that I'm a social psychologist and consulting to attorneys. So my interest really is not so much in what the law requires, that's the lawyer's job, but in how the jurors are likely to react to it. And so I think about that a lot, and I wonder the impact of deliberating about a former president. And it's a sort of interesting side note that over this week's space, Memorial Day happened, and people probably got together with family and friends on a day where the patriotism and the importance of democracy and people who've given their lives for it has all been brought to the forefront of their thinking as of just yesterday. Yeah, and that's all quite unusual.
So important. And thank you for bringing that up. I want to go back out to Yasmin Ousoukian, who has more from inside the courthouse.
So they're getting into Stormy Daniels, and Todd Blanche starts it off with, I want to tell you one last story, and talking about Stormy Daniels. In building this idea that it was all about extortion, he brings up this point. If you remember, it was Gina Rodriguez, Stormy Daniels' agent at the time, who reached out in April of 2016, reminding of this story of Stormy Daniels. And Todd Blanche talks about how the story was already out there. It was 2011 in which Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels tried to sell their stories for $15,000. It was already out there. Why would Donald Trump, and this is Todd Blanche speaking, and of course I'm paraphrasing here, why would Donald Trump worry so much about a story that had already been out there for 5 years? And then in April of 2016, when Gina Rodriguez reaches out about this Stormy Daniels story, why does it then take essentially 5 to 6 months for her to be paid $130,000 for Karen McDougal to be paid as well? This was not, in fact, a catch and kill scenario, because it was in April of 2016 in which Gina Rodriguez initially reached out. If you remember the whole idea of why this was being drawn out, right? Gina Rodriguez reaches out in April of 2016. It was not until October of 2016 that Stormy Daniels, for instance, was paid off $130,000. Michael Cohen testified to the fact that the reason why this was so drawn out is Donald Trump essentially was directing him to draw it out. So maybe they wouldn't have to pay Stormy Daniels, for instance, if they won or lost the election. If they won the election, they wouldn't have to pay up because he would have already won. Or if they lost the election, they wouldn't have to pay up because he lost, and it wouldn't really matter anymore. But it came to a head, it seems, as Michael Cohen testified, and they felt like they had to pay her in the last weeks leading up to the November 2016 election. So it feels as if, guys, they are coming to a close on these closing arguments from the defense. As they mentioned earlier, as they began court today, it was going to last about 2.5 hours. We are 2 hours or so into this thing, about 30 minutes or so left, and they're wrapping it up with Stormy Daniels' testimony after spending about 2 hours talking about the other person, it seems, who has been on trial this entire time, the star witness for the prosecution, Michael Cohen.
Yeah, it all comes back to Michael Cohen time and again in Todd Blanche's closing arguments, which are now going on about 2 hours since he began. And let me take you back into his arguments. He's talking about Daniels' claims. He says they were already public in 2011, and then he fast forwards through the timeline of April of 2016, 2 months before Davidson brings up anything about McDougal. And he says this is the middle of Trump's campaign. So think about that for a minute. when you think about why we're here, if there was really a catch and kill conspiratorial relationship, then why did everyone ignore that story in April? Why did it not go anywhere for months and months and months if there was a catch and kill scheme? Why did nobody do anything about it in April of 2016 when it first resurfaced? Mr. Howard didn't do anything. He didn't raise any alarm bells. There's no evidence of outreach to him that resulted in anything, Trump or Cohen. Blanche, let's look at June of 2016. Howard writes to Rodriguez, not much pisses me off except Trump. It appears he doesn't like Trump at all. He despises him. So, Catherine, what do you think they're doing in trying to create this timeline, saying there's this all, it was out there much earlier. So what is that? How does that impact this case?
Unfortunately for Mr. Blanche, Mr. Steinglass is going to easily rebut that. The reason why no one cared and Donald Trump didn't care then was because he wasn't running for president, really. And he
in 2011, certainly not.
Yeah. And also at the time that the Stormy Daniels resurfaced, that Access Hollywood tape just came out. And as Hope Hicks said, who was the communication director for the campaign, that was a major crisis. You had Republican leaders coming out and criticizing Donald Trump. That was a catastrophe for the campaign. So now we can't have a porn star too. So that's what you're going to hear the prosecution say, why, it's important. Blanche has to deal with it, and that's the way has to deal with it, and hope that one juror says, yeah. But the prosecution is just going to come right back and say the reason why it was so important to hush her up was because of the Access
Hollywood tape.
That was key, and now there is a morning break. Julie, I'm just wondering what Chuck was telling us about. If you are an attorney on either side, your job is to speak to the jury, not to individual jurors. How do you see that difference?
Well, speaking to the jury as a whole, of course, is important to understand. It's important to understand that the jurors bring different perspectives to bear. And so this is a jury, of 7 men and 5 women. Among the men, 2 are attorneys, 2 have MBAs. I was actually in court one day. I was in court for the first day of Michael Cohen's direct and got a chance to see the jurors in person. They're very attentive. They're noticing what's happening. And the lawyers have to anticipate that there may well be different coalitions of receptiveness in the jury, by which I mean the lawyers are going to be good at understanding the law. They haven't heard it yet, but they're going to get it soon from the judge. And the lawyers anticipate that they're sort of an educated audience with regard to notions of intent and this sort of nested idea of intent, right? So it isn't just the intent to defraud, but intent to commit another crime as well, either campaign violations or finance violations or an election interference or tax law related. So the lawyers are going to understand all that. The women on this jury may be especially well primed in some ways to pay attention to Stormy Daniels' testimony or to Hope Hicks's testimony. So at the same time that the lawyers need to account for the jury as a whole, I would expect them also to be thinking about, especially since they had a week to do it, how to play to the different constituencies, because there are really different subgroups within the jury who are likely to become coalitions during deliberations, who will try to influence each other from their different perspectives. And of course, those different perspectives are what brings reasonable doubt to life.
Julie Blackman. Thank you so much, Julie Blackman, for joining us, offering your expertise here.